Now, I find a leadership job incredibly rewarding. However, it is not for everyone. Today we're going to unpack some signs on how you can decide if this leadership job is right for you. Now, I have been fortunate enough to be in a situation where I've been presented with two job options: sticking with the current leadership role or taking on a new role that was presented to me. I have been in this type of scenario twice, where I have been really uncertain about which opportunity I should take. In one of those scenarios, I had to weigh up between two roles that offered the same salary and similar benefits. However, two quite different roles, in that one was continuing in the leadership path and one would be deviating off that leadership trajectory altogether and taking a project-based role with complete autonomy and no direct reports. It really stumped me and made me get really deep into what is it that I really want to do? Where do I want my career to go? So if you are in this situation, or perhaps just deciding if leadership is the right career for you, I'm going to share how I decided and the steps that I took to weigh it up and make the right choice for me. First things first, let's talk about what you enjoy. Do you crave getting things done yourself? Diving into complex issues or problems or tasks and seeing your own individual impact? If so, leadership might not be quite the right step for you. For my scenario, I had to consider, how would I feel if it was just me getting through the projects that I needed to, focusing on the tasks that were in front of me on my own, rather than the idea of focusing on the team's success and how we were progressing as a group. Now, I do love a good project, and I am a bit of an introvert. So the idea of being able to work autonomously and get stuck into a project that I had complete control over was pretty attractive. Because let's face it, when you throw people into the mix, it gets pretty messy. I've always been part of projects in my leadership roles. However, they are usually aligned to where we are heading as a team and would have a direct correlation to the work we are doing or a system that we're using. So I had to consider, do I like leading and directing projects as a team? Or would I prefer owning the project and completing it as an individual? Unfortunately, this was not providing me with any clarity, as I could see the benefits of both. So let's go to the next step that I tried to get that sense of clarity for me to make that decision. Now, before I do, for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Nikki. I've been in leadership for 17 years and I've gone from leading just two people to leading leaders of large teams. So the next step for me to try and make this decision was to consider the environment that I was going to be working in. I had the advantage as I had experienced both environments that the roles were in previously. I knew the people that I'd be working with, and I kind of knew the culture that I would be going into in making the choice. So I really had to think about the environment in terms of the roles themselves. In leadership, the environment is often noisy, and not just due to the volume of people that are around you, but also the interruptions that come with being in a leadership role. Issues, questions, queries, ideas can arise from anywhere at any time of the day. And interruptions are just part of the job, and certainly not on any kind of predictable schedule. People can be pretty unpredictable. I compared this unpredictability with what I would be going to if I took the project role. I was anticipating that it would be on my own schedule and much more predictable than what I was currently dealing with. I knew that if I needed information or support, I would have to be proactive to go and get it and seek it from others. The timetable of the role would be a lot more predictable. While there would be things that would come up that I would need to deal with, it wouldn't be to the same degree as what happens in leadership roles. So imagine being an introvert and having almost complete control over your schedule and the interruptions that you could be getting. The scale was starting to tip in favour of the project role. The next consideration was the benefits, and this is not just around salary. The salary was the same for both roles. It was more around the flexibility, where I worked, the leave, and superannuation. So The salary was the same, so it was neutral either side. The flexibility, however, was heavily weighted in the project's favour, as with no direct reports, my location would be agnostic. The leave allocation was also greater in the project role. However, as I would be starting it fresh, I would not have any accumulated leave like I did in the role I was in, and the superannuation was also less. Now, I have young kids, so the leave was a factor, but the flexibility was really attractive. I now felt like the balance was still in favour of the project, as there's nothing quite like having more flexibility when you have a young family. I've also done a video on how to juggle having a family and a career, which is linked on the screen. So the next consideration that I weighed up was around people. Leadership is all about people, and if you are questioning if leadership is right for you, consider if you find joy in motivating others, fostering collaboration, and helping them grow. If you dread conflict resolution or shy away from feedback, then the people-facing aspect of leadership could be really challenging for you. For me, I liked the people nature of the role and loved developing others, particularly new and aspiring leaders. So leadership was now tipping back into balance with the project role. And I was back to a very equal weighting in terms of weighing up the decision. So the final step for me was about the future. The project sounded really great in that I could take complete control over my environment. I would have autonomy and flexibility in my schedule. It also appealed to my more introverted nature. However, the leadership role provided the challenge and a bit of the excitement around the unpredictable nature of leadership. I also got a great deal of satisfaction from motivating and inspiring others in my role. So I was still uncertain, and it took a career mapping exercise to really help me gain clarity. In terms of my career, I could see that doing the project role and the tangible outputs, that if I did well in the project role, it could help my future career progression. It would give me something that I could hinge what I spent my time on and the output that occurred from me spending my time on completing that project. If I continued with the leadership role, I also knew that I would need a challenge soon to keep me motivated, and ideally I wanted that change to be a progression in my career. Taking on the project role would be taking me away from leadership and potentially into a different function of work which I hadn't really ever considered before, which is why it was throwing me off balance a bit. When opportunities come to you, how do you identify them as opportunities and not just noise that is coming in to distract you from what your overall focus is? Well, I can tell you, because I did my career mapping exercise and I could see that the project role probably wasn't going to take me down the leadership pathway I thought that I wanted to go. It wasn't aligned to my own leadership blueprint and was actually going to be a sideways step, which, due to my own values around loyalty and commitment, it was a step I would need to be committed to for at least 18 months before I could take my next step. And if I wanted my next step to be leadership progression, this project role was probably going to be leadership deviation that could prevent me from progressing in my leadership career for 18 months or years down the track, depending on how the market was at the point where I would be ready to do that. So after reflecting on that and how I would be going sideways for a period, and knowing that while the challenge and the break from leadership could be really rewarding for me, it ran the risk of not being able to get back into the leadership track that I really wanted to be in, which highlighted for me that leadership was where I really wanted to be. So I decided to stick with my leadership trajectory and turn down the offer. It also helped really cement for me that at that point in time, I really needed a new challenge. And the reason that I was even considering the project role was because I really wanted a change, which was a sign that I was ready to take the next step in my leadership career. So it spurred me on to do just that. Now, if you are currently stuck and want to have more clarity in your leadership pathway, make sure you sign up for my email list in the description, as I'm currently developing a leadership pathway course, which, depending on when you're watching this video, is now live or is launching live very soon. This pathway will allow you to get the clarity so that you can stop applying for everything that looks like a potential step up in your leadership career, wasting energy on job applications, and getting more frustrated with the lack of progress and the rejection, and instead learn how to create a leadership blueprint for your career by identifying what you really need to stop wasting your time and providing incredible insight to make your next career move with confidence. So if you want a framework to get clarity around the next step that you should be taking and stop the scattergun approach to new opportunities, click the link in the description to hear more about it. And thanks very much for watching.